Okay, my first public reading with the new cards. I actually found that as I was shaking this, some just kind of slipped out of that slot. So let's see if it works that way. I'll do a reading based on what slips out of the slot. These are coming out. Okay, we've got revisit, trine, nutrition, canceled, melpomene, which is a grief over an ending or some drama, an angel. Okay. I'm asking for some more, but look how they're all lined up in such a way where, oh, I don't think you can see. It will never come out like that. Okay, I'll try reaching my hand in. Alright, what are we revisiting? Something that you believe you've already healed from. It's time to revisit it. So it was an ending of some sort. Something maybe that you cut out altogether. And what is this nutrition thing about? Delaying. Maybe delaying giving yourself some sort of something you need. Yeah. I feel like you may have decided you don't need something, right? And you moved on, you maybe even had to mourn the loss of it, and you said, done with that. And you did that for the ease of it. You did that because it was too hard. Okay? There's angels involved here, and you're being asked, guided, protected. Protected because it's on your path. That's when you're protected, right? You're protected when it's part of the divine order that this be something you do. Otherwise, you're looking at repeating patterns and going off track and kind of getting pushed around a little bit unnecessarily. So when protected it just means like that you're doing things with faith and so go into this with faith, revisit. Now can we find out what is this thing? It's something having to do with love, care, nurturing, family, children, nostalgia, nurturance, something you maybe thought you weren't very good at, right? Maybe dealing with a certain emotional issue. It could have a lot to do with the relationship with mother. And it's not that you haven't healed portions of that already. It's just that there's another layer that you may not realize is still there, right? Because you've kind of closed that chapter. And it's basically saying like, hey, there's some gold in these there hills. Like go back and get the nourishment, get the thing that you need from that situation that you haven't quite got. So when you go back into it, you're going to maybe do a meditation. Let me ask the cards for any suggestions on how to approach this issue. How can we bring this issue back up for this person? How can this person bring this issue back up? You're going to get some guidance. So you need to be intuitively aware, open to your guidance. Anything else that you can tell us about how this person can bring this back up? It's something, it's in your programming right now, right? It's going to come back up and it's going to feel like it's not even a thing to look at because it's part of your programming. And the reason that it's being brought up is because there's a reprogramming that is available for you that will set you free from some sort of limitation that you've succumbed to in dealing with this originally. Yeah, so it's a new cycle. So when it comes up, it might just feel like, oh, this is that old thing that I said no thank you to. This is that old issue coming up again, and I already said I don't want to deal with it. And this time it's saying, okay, if you can please be present with what comes up, slow it down, kind of look at it as if you're just visiting the issue. And if you look at an issue like you're just visiting, maybe you look at it from more of an outside standpoint than the emotionally charged place that you originally come from. Look for any hidden benefits of either letting it go or holding on to it, which might be keeping you from looking at it from a different angle at this time. Okay, so whatever it is that you're going to collect from this or reprogram out of this, it's going to help you move forward, especially on any issues that you feel delayed from and on, where you've been trying to accomplish a certain goal and it hasn't come to fruition yet. It's like, oh, that's because it's like when you're growing a plant, it needs certain pieces of nutrition, right? It needs certain elements to be present in order for it to grow. And this is like one of the things that you need in order to be nourished enough to sustainably grow in a new way or at all on this topic. Yeah, it's definitely going to be something that it feels like, oh, I've already been here, I've done this before. So it doesn't mean that you haven't made a lot of progress already, okay? Sometimes that's what it is. Some people look at it like it's a spiral and that we're now looking at it from a slightly different angle or vantage point, and that's a fine way to look at it. Some people just look at it like a loop. Some people look at it like, I'm looking at it now from this angle where I have grown some and I have more skills and tools to be able to handle it in a different way, or I have reason to look at it from a different perspective. So it's something where there was a dramatic ending perhaps, or it was just easier to let it go. You felt like you healed from it fully. You don't probably expect to have to revisit it again. And that's why when it comes up again, you don't see that it is actually something that you can alleviate yourself from the cycle of. So in order to reprogram ourselves, in order to neutralize a loop, which is just like a limitation or of energy, somewhere where we've limited ourselves with the belief, or a coping strategy which we're using to probably unconsciously avoid feeling a certain feeling. So whatever this coping mechanism is, it's probably very efficient and working very well for you. So that's why it probably feels like you're healed from it, and you wouldn't think to go back into it, or you wouldn't recognize it as, oh, I need to heal this. But this is saying that there is more, and the reason why you are in this cycle again is so that you can kind of look at it again. So if there's more to grieve, definitely go that route. But the basic thing that you're going to need to do is recognize if there's any feelings associated, right? Acknowledge it, first of all. Validate why it's there, what's happening, why it's been put in place, or why you've put the avoidance strategy in place, or why you cut it out altogether. And then be present. Accept that that's the case. Accept that this is still going on. Be present with any feelings that that come up in response to that. Like maybe it's frustration. Oh, I've got to deal with this again. Or, oh, this is always a nag to me. Or, oh, can't I get over this already? You know, all those feelings are valid feelings that need your presence and your love. And it's up to you, or I'm going to say us, because this is just the basic premise of how we neutralize energy as human beings. But we just be the one who loves us through whatever state our emotional body is in. So whatever feeling is arising, we're the one who loves ourselves through it. Okay, and this creates a neutralized space where we have fully accepted the emotional charge that's present. Okay, and then that's going to let our awareness expand bigger to see a bigger picture view, which is probably going to include that the opposite is probably also true in this case, and you may or may not be able to see it depending on how abstract your mind is able to go. Sometimes it can take 3 days to integrate the process, so it could be like 3 days later when you finally realize, oh, I didn't realize that about it, or oh, I didn't realize this particular point of view about it. And then once you've neutralized the energy to see that you don't have to live in extremes on that topic, then you can successfully take the gold with you to leave that cycle behind. Actually, it's not really like leaving it behind, because what you're doing is you're going forward with it fully integrated within you. So that if you were to come across a situation like that again, you're not going to fall into the trap of an emotional charge around it. And if you were to encounter somebody else who was in that situation, you would just be able to hold space or have compassion for them in that situation, knowing that you would have found your way out too. If they had asked you for advice, you'd be prepared to ask to offer it to them based on your own experiences as well. Okay? All right, so the only information we got about what this is an ending, a grief, something you put an end to, and that it has to do with Cancer energy. And you can kind of look up Cancer with regards to astrology to get a bigger picture view on what Cancer energy encompasses, because it's a lot larger than the few words that I've said, but it's more of like an essence and a feeling. It's the energy of mother and care and emotions and water and flow and taking things in a way that feel easy and non-combative, So, all right. I want to thank you for participating, and remember, this is only information to reflect on. You want to just take what is helpful to you and leave the rest for someone else, and I will see you in the next one.